So today I'm talking to Christian Delez. Christian is in Switzerland in Neuchâtel. I hope I pronounced that correctly. My French is not very good.
That's correct.
And Christian is an agile leader, a project leader in RUAG. He's also the co-founder of the Swiss Association for Responsive Organizations. I hope I got that right. And this is a global project about the future of work. So I'm very happy to have you here today, Christian, in this interview series to talk about digital transformation. So welcome, first of all.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for having me. And I'm pleased to talk about the topic today.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, so let's frame the topic just briefly. I call it always in the middle of a digital revolution and not just transformation. Why revolution? I'm not the only one using this word. I believe it affects literally everybody, not just organizations. It affects each of us individually, the whole society. So that's why I believe it's rather a revolution. And companies, corporates of all sizes are obviously going through those transformations to, well, I believe, serve their customers better in the end and to win the race in this tough game out there. And only a certain percentage of corporates are on the way actually really doing it. And those who are find it, that came out from different statistics, from different articles I've read, from different interviews I've read. Some find it really hard, and not all of those projects are actually successful. So I believe there's lots of potential and lots of dangers as well for the corporates and for the individuals. So going into the questions from my perspective, the humans are the central and most important success factor in business generally, and particularly in this process of digital transformation. And what I've found, though, is that a lot of organizations plainly and only focus on the processes or on the technical side of things. So what is your experience here in your own organization maybe, or when you're working with other organizations or clients?
Yeah, there's a tendency to focus more, like you said, on tools and technology. I sense this also in Swiss organization. It's what I think it has to do is with the easiest aspect of life. It's more easy to tackle technology, process and tool than to tackle the human aspect. Mm-hmm. So when we speak about the digital transformation and the issue, I see my organization going globally, going bigger and broader, and the tasks we have to achieve every day are more complex than before. The digitalization generate complex work, complex tasks, which can only be achieved by several persons, which mean a team, which mean people have to communicate with another. And tackling difficult tasks through communication with one another is not easy. Not everybody is born with the way to handle any kind of conversation. So sometimes there's a tendency to hide behind the process instead of going in front of a person and having a difficult conversation. So that's why I think the reality reflects what you say, that the focus is more on tool and processes instead of human. I see a shift. I see that more and more we have a process as a baseline. We have to respect it. There's some guidelines, some governance, some things which we have to respect per country, per regulation. And there's more emphasis going on the human aspect. And that's for, I think, the good of the organizations.
That's a really interesting aspect. So hiding behind the processes So, or the technical side to avoid difficult conversations. And I totally agree. Having difficult conversations, we all know it, even in private life, this can be a challenge. You know? How do we actually have those conversations? Because not too long ago, I wrote an article about the fact that we're all emotional beings, and we don't really leave this part of us at the wardrobe when we go into an organization. So it's not always about facts and figures. And when those emotions pop up, maybe this is, if I got that right, this is the moment then when we kind of hide behind the processes. Because, I mean, hey, it's uncomfortable to feel all of this, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can just ask friends, how many of them feel confident in talking about politics and religions with friends and family, and how many are going easily through those conversations. Mm-hmm. And most of the time I get an answer that they don't speak about those topics with certain person as they get too much tension they cannot process.
Right. Yeah.
Same with some aspect in the organization. There's some aspects which are not easy to talk about, and if you don't feel confident talking about it, you tend to, as a human, avoid it and do something else.
Yeah. So, what do you personally believe is necessary to include the human factor in the process of the digital transformation? That is the first part of the question. And the second is, what are the three biggest issues that you have experienced or seen for leaders and for those implementing the change?
Yeah. Well, for me, the most important aspect is to create and hold a space for the conversation that needs to happen and occurs. When we think about the study of Google about high-performing teams, the Aristotle project, the thing that came out is psychological safety. So teams where there's a psychological safety, where people can show up and say whatever they want to say without having fear to be judged, denied, or rejected, are the team having the best performance and bringing the best product and services out there. Mm-hmm. So to do this, you need to enter the space. So there's need to be a time and a physical space where people can come and be truly who they are, mm-hmm. and can speak without fear of any sort of topics we need to speak about in order to do our work. Mm-hmm. So that's for me the biggest need. And linked to this, the challenges are not many people are ready or have the skill to hold that space and to stay calm in the turbulent times with pressure, time, budget, anything, mm-hmm. and go through the difficult conversation which is needed in order to see the breakthrough, to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. So for me, the biggest thing is, the biggest skill which is needed is stay calm, ask more questions instead of speaking and telling what you don't know, and having the space as a team, as a group, doing the work and taking on the task. And I like the new frameworks and tools which is called Conversational Intelligence, which is exactly about this. It's like you have the IQ, you have the EQ, like emotional intelligence, and the next one is conversational intelligence. How do we speak with one another as a group, as a team, as a tribe, as a project team, as an organization? Mm-hmm. And how do we go through the turbulence to find a new solution for our products and services? Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Very, it's kind of fascinating. So what I heard was, it's the safety, the trust is basically the condition for even speaking up, for not being that fearful. The courage, I guess.
Yes.
Is something that's required. That's what I heard. And curiosity. I like that. Asking questions.
Asking questions. Sometimes curiosity and Yeah, there's a tendency for manager to push on and to say how it has to be done. And it's not easy to pause and to ask questions and to let the collective intelligence emerge. And instead of having one manager saying how to do, you can have 10 workers thinking of 10 different solutions, and the sum of everything will be anyway better than only one person thinking. You have, instead of one person thinking, you have 11 person thinking. Yeah. And this is hard stuff. When you are under pressure, you have to deliver, you have to put stuff on the market. You want to go on, so you want to push your way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay, and sometimes there's better solution. And in order to have those better solutions, you need to pause and ask questions. And that's not an easy skill.
I totally agree. Yeah, I can totally see that this takes a lot of courage on the side of the one who asks, who questions, and also the being prepared to receive the questions on the side of the management or leadership in this case, right? Does that make sense?
Exactly. That's related to having the difficult conversation. It's bidirectional. So everybody being part of the conversation is going to have some hard time, and this is something which has to be learned. It's not the default that you're able to handle and stay in the difficult conversation and make good out of it, and not goes into complete fear mode and fight or flight.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the fear a couple of times now, and what I experienced in organizations quite a lot while working in organizations and with organizations, particularly when there's a transformation going on, that there can be quite a lot of fear. You address the fear of speaking up, basically. So do you also see the fear of people in those transformations of, I don't know, losing their jobs or not being up to the tasks and the demands? And if so, how do organizations address this issue?
Yeah, just make a pause. There's the phone ringing. It's going to stop in a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Just going to stop ringing, and then we can go on. Okay, it's done. Yeah. Oh, now I've lost the flow. Could you just repeat the end of the question?
Yeah, no worries at all. So what I've seen in organizations is this fear that you also addressed, and that fear can have different aspects. And you talked about the fear of speaking up and maybe asking and really being who people are. And there might be other fears, like maybe even losing their job in the process of the transformation, or not being up to the demands of what is coming in these phases of change. So the first question was, how do you see those as well? And how do organizations, from your experience, address those fears?
Yeah, those fears really exist. So every time there's a reorg or there's I see this also in project. We have sometimes challenging projects where we hire some external people to help for a certain period of time, and this brings an instability. And every time we brings an instability, there's fear of some people, like, why are the external people coming in? Why are the other people? Do they want to replace me? And the hardest part is that the employee don't speak up their fear. So they don't tell you, are you hiring them to fire me? They are just thinking it, which is really dangerous. And I think the way to handle this is to be sure to have some conversation with every team member about how they feel about the human being aspect, and not only about the task. So what I say is relationship first, task afterwards. And when you fix the relationship, when you know how do they feel, are they okay, are they in at the workplace, or are they fear and out, then when you've tackled this, and if there's any fear, you can handle them from the management or leadership point of view, and you can reinsure them, you can explain with full transparency. Why are there other people coming? Why is the reorg? What is the purpose? How it's going to look like afterwards? What was the initiator to start this journey? And if you have the explanation and if you take enough time to talk with them, then the people having the biggest fear translate to the people being the best advocator and the best pusher or leader of the transformation or the reorg.
Yeah, almost like becoming ambassadors instead of having the fear.
Ambassador, exactly.
Yeah.
And this, for me, the way to handle this is to be sure that you take time on the human aspect to make some personal relation and to feel how do you people feel. And to be sure, are they really like this?
Yeah.
There are many things unspoken and make the unspoken visible.
Yeah, so transparency, time and relationship. Very, very interesting and fascinating because, I mean, yes, my corporate time is a while ago. When I was working in this environment, nobody was talking about feeling at all. We feel we do our job, right? And considering the time pressure in work, in life, as it seems to be, that's probably a huge challenge, isn't it? You know, to take this time.
Yes, it's really a challenge. There's a lot of pressure to do more, and also feelings and emotion are just emerging. So there's more and more study explaining that it's really important and that you have to put relationship first and task second, and that when you do this, you get more tasks done, which is for some people not easy to understand. And the emotion part is slowly coming in. So it's slowly acceptable to have some emotion. Not all emotion are yet accepted at the workplace. Some are. I hope the trend is going to continue as this is going to make people more human inside the workplace and team better. And when the team is better, then the product and the services are better also. So we are on a journey. Yeah,
absolutely. Found it interesting. They said not all emotions are accepted. When I was talking to somebody recently, and we talked about this, you know, that some people say, "Hey, don't be so emotional," right? We're talking about facts and figures, etc. Is that, you know what? When you say that, what do you really mean? So, do you also say that when somebody is really delighted or pleased about something? So what we label as positive emotion, right? That's okay. And the emotional bit is always this feeling uncomfortable, right? I don't really like this emotion, so I don't want to deal with it.
Exactly, that's the one. So you have, it's okay to laugh sometimes, just sometimes, not always, and to be delighted sometimes for a short period of time, and then we go on to normal no emotion mode. And if you cry or if you're sad, then it's something wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly.
This needs to be worked on. Sometimes I get by a conversation with the more fear people and the more sad people, real good insight about an issue we have to tackle, an unspoken thing. So the thing is for me to judge all the emotion at the same level, it's just emotions, and to find what's behind or what was generating this, and is there any information I can use to make the team better? And when the team is better, then the product and the services will be better anyway. Yeah,
that's the amazing thing. I mean, one of the aspects you said, you know, it's not just about, you know, we all love each other now and we talk about emotions all day long. It is a pathway to a better product, to better outcomes, to a better organization in the end. So it's not just a touchy-feely thing. It is actually a real economic factor.
Yeah, that's exactly this. There's more and more study explaining the relation between the health state of a team, of an organization, and the health state of the business and profit.
Yeah, now, I mean, hey, I absolutely support this path because I believe that's the only way how companies will be successful in future. That might be a big claim. I believe it's we'll take some time to get there. I'm pretty sure we will. So what skills or I wouldn't actually call it skills, more traits, do you believe are the ideal employee could have in this digital transformation to succeed?
Well, there's several. One would be curiosity. I mean, when we speak about digital transformation, we speak about unknown. It's like the young people now are going through schools and they learn a job which they will use for a maximum of 3 years. Then they will do a job which today does not exist, and there's no training for the job they will do in 5 years. So it's curiosity for the unknown. We have no idea what we are building, absolutely no idea. We have some tools and technique. What we're going to do with it, nobody can say. There's tendency, there's always those trends and things, and some are more accurate than the others. We're going to build something which does not exist. And if you're not curious, if you're not ready for the unknown, then there's going to be a big issue. And on that journey to the unknown, I come always back to what happened in the space where we have the conversation. And for me, the trait is being able to communicate, discuss the fear, the emotion, the challenge between people involved in a project, in an organization, in a task. And this is something which is not yet fully broad. There's still a lot of fear, and from this fear, there's still a lot of unspoken things between peoples. Yeah. And every unspoken things is a risk, and it's something which can explode. So for me, being able to speak our fear between us, and on the other side, being ready to receive it, handle it, and make something good out of it. So it's this relation between transparency and trust.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds like a huge challenge, particularly in an organization, as you know, considering sometimes that doesn't even happen in private relationships.
Yeah, it's exactly this. It's either in family, in relationship, at work. Is being able to have those conversations, and we have a tendency. It's also a cultural thing. We have a tendency when something bad happens, who should we blame? And instead of chasing who should we blame, if at the organization you set the energy in what can we do better such that we don't have the same issue next time, then it's a completely different story. And we need to shift this. We need to shift this from trying to blame somebody to we did made an experiment in the unknown space. We did learn something, share this learning, and go on to the next step. And don't waste any more minutes in blaming. That it doesn't bring you anywhere. Take out the learning, and with the learning, be greater and better next time.
Yeah, it's probably quite a waste of time to look for who's to blame. And I would assume it would be interesting if you experienced that already in a environment of trust and safety. People who screwed up, and it happens. We all make mistakes. We all make failures. That they're also in the position to say, you know what, that was me. I did that. And so how can we take responsibility and then be able to move on? So does that really happen in real life, or is that just a theoretical case?
It's not theoretical. It happens more and more. I see this also in my environment and my surrounding. And it's always, we have the same in the family. We say, if you made a mistake and if you announce it, there's at least 50% of the guilt which is taken off of you because you came and you announced it. And it's the same at the workplace. I mean, if you say, oh, I've tried my best, it's screwed up. Okay, I've learned it, and can we spoke about it, and can we move on? Then generally we do this. I mean, there's no point in blaming too much. So I see it more and more I think we still to see it even more.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of unspoken mistake, and from that point of view, a lot of learnings missing.
Mm. Absolutely. I believe it blocks, it holds people back, it holds individuals back, it holds teams back. And what I found is that even if it's hard, it's almost jumping over a hurdle, to taking the courage to say, okay, it was me and I did that. It's almost like a huge liberation, okay, that's, I can come out with it, and my head is not being chopped off for admitting that I've done something wrong. And I'm prepared to make it better the next time.
Exactly. And that's, well, somebody said, like, the wisdom is the sum of all the mistakes we made. And I think it's the same for organization. I mean, if we know all the mistake, then we have much more wisdom.
Yeah. I like that. I call it, if we own our life and our career, our actions, then we're freer to go wherever we'd like to go. And
exactly.
Yeah, for me, it's probably, it's a very personal experience. It's this liberation. It's like, whew, thank God, it's out. Now it can't. It doesn't burden me anymore.
Exactly. And then you feel all the new free energy you have for something else, exactly. which was locked in the box of worries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suddenly you have full of energy for something else.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. So in a conversation with a representative of a big German industry giant, basically, and we were talking about change, about transformation, this person showed me something about where things like heart intelligence and intuition showed up. And I was quite surprised to see that with such a big organization. And we talked about emotions and being able to understand ourselves. And you called it communication intelligence, right? So
conversational
intelligence. So
exactly.
Would you believe that's about the same direction? Is that the same as intuition or hard intelligence? So where's the difference, or where is a match there?
Yeah, there's a good relation. Conversational intelligence is the work from Judith Iglesias, and it's based on neuroscience. And there's some aspect we speak about, which is the gut brain and the gut feelings. So it's exactly linked to intuition and heart.
Yeah.
And basically, you have gut feelings, and this generate reaction in your brain. The chemistry is working on, and you do things with your gut feelings. And I call this intuition. And when you have intuition, then you should speak it up. And this is where the hard part comes in. How do you speak it up? Do you speak it up with the blaming side, or do you speak it up with more the hard side, saying, I would love to hear more about this? Or what is what do you mean by saying this? When you have a gut feeling, somebody is saying something, you say, you have the feeling something is not really true there in this voice. There's something unspoken. Then you can ask more questions. And you can go on the outside and say, I'm sure this person has good intention, so I'm going to check and I'm going to ask for more. And this is the positive side. What we call when we make our executive brain working and generating some connection with the people, we call this the bonding with the oxytocin hormone. And we say, okay, tell me more. What do you mean by this? Is there anything else about this? Is there anything you didn't say and you want to add on the topic? And if you go on the fear side, then you have the feeling this person is lying to you, and this generates fear into you, and you're back on the primitive brain, and you say, I don't believe you, I don't trust you, what the hell is this presentation? Yeah. And this is a completely different world. So for me, intuition and heart is making a connection and having a good relationship and going toward positive result. Yeah. And not having this is staying on the fear and blaming.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm very curious, what whoever watches the interview will think about this, because when somebody steps in at this point, probably nobody would think we are talking about digital transformation, because in the end, we're talking about the human being, and the more people I speak with, the more it seems to turn out that it all goes back. While we're in this highly technological world, in the end, it goes back to us. How do we deal with things? How do we communicate? How well do we use all our levels of potential that we actually have, and not just our wonderful analytical brain, right? And use other parts, which we were completely educated out years ago. So that's it's highly fascinating. So last but not least, Christian, what do you believe defines a great digital leader?
That's a good question. I think I can short it down to any great leader. It doesn't really matter if it's digital world or not, as leadership today is tackling some really challenging issue with a lot of people in the unknown world. Is it digital? It is something different. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. And I come back to holding the space. And for me, the great digital leader will hold the space for everybody in the digital revolution and transformation to keep on the journey and be able to have the transformation and the support they need at the human level to go through this difficult journey. And I would say, if I go in a team and if I see them laughing, having fun, and producing great products and services, then I suppose there's a great digital leader in the background, which enables them to make great things with ease and fun. It's like, everybody dreams to work by some Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and stuff like this. It's basically because we love their product. And we have some good story about a great team working there, and we want the same. That would be for me a way to measure it. Some team having fun and great product. And if you have great product, you have great numbers. So you can continue the game.
Yeah, perfect. I really love it. I read in it was actually a Swiss newspaper, obviously, as we're both living in Switzerland, I guess we're reading some of the Swiss news. And so I read a comment under an article once, which was saying, why do all these people expect to be fun and to have fun at work, and this, I realized was definitely the very traditional approach of some people who still believe, and maybe that's a generational thing as well, as things develop, that work is for work and for earning the money, and getting things done. It's not for fun, and I believe this picture starts changing, because we spend so much time in our jobs, don't we? And I believe if we are in a good place, that's how I define or interpret it now. If we are in a good place, we can deliver great results. Exactly.
And it's important to remember that people working full-time job spend more than 50% of the daylight at work.
Yeah.
So for me, it's important to have a great ambiance and to be able to have not only fun, to have all sorts of emotion, as this is what's needed to build great teams, and you need great teams to build great products and services. So if you want a profit at the end, the profit will come from the people building the product or the service.
Yeah.
And if there's empty people at the workplace, you're not going to have great product and services. And production lines and stuff like this are over. Digitalization means a lot of change every day, every year. And in order to do those changes, you need people. And if people are healthy, you're going to be better for the future.
Perfect. So yes, it clearly shows we are at the center of everything, and the how I tend to say it's the digital world. We created the digitalization. We created all of that, right? And we created it for us and not the other way around.
Exactly. And we have to take our responsibility and be back in control and control our technology, our life, and our relationship.
Yeah, take charge. Brilliant. Well, I guess that's the perfect way to finish this conversation. Christian, thank you very much. I was highly fascinated. I could probably go on forever. So it was absolutely great, and I'm sure we'll speak again sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for having me, and I wish everybody in the digital world a nice time.
Exactly. Great transformation with fun. Okay, thank you.
Exactly.